Scott read me the consult versus inform line. So I think I'm gonna have to just drop it with that one and leave it there and say I am now unsure on the War Powers Act. I was firmly in the that he's followed the War Powers Act camp. But since I don't have the War Powers Act legislation in front of me, I can't quote it. But I'll go ahead and leave it there, Gary.
Is there an argument to make that it's beyond your description to the point where it would affect the mission? If they went to Congress first, and then there were all these public discussions and hearings and everything, it telegraphs too much to the enemy, and it negates what the president feels needed to be done at that moment.
Yes, that would fall into the commander-in-chief power. I will grant you that's why I said my idealistic side. Because I had a conversation with Abby yesterday, fully recognizing that the wish that we had that discussion is an impractical wish.
Thank you, Marshal. Alan, are you with us today? It's too bad.
Yes, sir, Gary. What's up?
Go ahead. Did you want to jump in on this, or?
Well, you guys are doing very well. It's not much I can do. The same thing, A lot of people said it wasn't successful, but I think that news comes from Iran. It was a very successful attempt. I knew sooner or later it's going to happen because there's no other way. These mullahs gotta go. Back to you, sir.
Let me just ask you very briefly, Alan. I know you're busy minding your store there. I'm sure you saw what Reza Pahlavi had to say today. Is there any chance that what he articulated will actually occur?
Of course it is, yes. He's already had all the plans set up, but we still have pockets. Still there are some elements involved with this regime which they extremely get paid. We know there is about 8, 9 TV channel in Los Angeles which they're still getting paid by this regime. And they're throwing rock at, but people are fed up with it. He's ready for it. He still does not want, he's not seeking any kind of, office position or anything. He says from the beginning, he said he's just there to help and let the transaction go smooth. And as far as his plan is already said, there won't be any vacuum, there won't be any problem. It's just a matter of when Khamenei gonna get hit. There is a news he got hit. There's a news now he's not got hit. He had already few, tapes he sent out. But we all know, almost Iranian, he has like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 copies which is put in the face and then they come in the front in any of the situations. So, but all the news is good from Iran. The only thing they don't have is complaining. It's the internet, and it's very hard to do, connection with them, and they just want to know the family, the friend outside, they are doing okay. That's just about it.
Thank you, Alan. It's interesting that you mentioned that there's a television station in Los Angeles that people say is being funded by the Iranian regime. And I don't know whether if it's direct, because it would seem that would be in violation of the sanctions. But I can say, from personal experience, this makes me recall during the wars in Iraq, there's a very large expatriated community of Iraqis in Detroit. And there was a newspaper there, a weekly, that was published to serve that community. And that newspaper was funded by Saddam Hussein. And interestingly, it wasn't just the content that was being supportive of that regime, but because the reporters were in and out of the community talking to people, they were able to telegraph back to the Iraqi officials who in the United States who still have family in Iraq was supporting the resistance to Saddam Hussein. And the whole idea for that was to shut people up here in the United States so that they would not exercise their First Amendment rights, because if they did, then the publisher of the newspaper would notify the government and put their families back in Iraq at risk. I don't know whether that's going on with this television station in Los Angeles, but it's pretty interesting and something I actually worthwhile of some investigation based on what Alan just said. Anson, I know you got a lot to say about strategically what occurred and the results and what comes next, so the floor is.
Well, I want to first weigh in on is it constitutional, and I particularly want to try to address Scott and the millions and millions of people in the United States that will agree with Scott's assertion. I don't know the answer, and I would suggest that nobody on this stage or in this room knows the definitive answer. The only way to get a definitive answer is whether something is constitutional or not is run it up the flagpole and let the Supreme Court make a decision. So Trump is a wild man, and he's doing a bunch of stuff, and Democrats have resorted to the courts to try to slow him down, and they're being successful in many cases doing that. And some of the things have gone to the Supreme Court in a pretty quick fashion. So why don't we somebody sue the administration right now and see if a court will establish a restraining order preventing the use of any offensive weapons against Iran until Congress declares war, period. And then let that work its way up the flagpole and let the Supreme Court decide. Now, is that a joke? No, it's really not a joke, because I am sick and tired of listening to this argument since I first joined the military in 1965. Is it constitutional or not? Is it not constitutional to order the use of military force for whatever reason against anybody without an act of Congress? If that is the case, then we can save trillions and trillions of dollars, because we don't need to forward deploy anything. We can pull back and turn them into tin cans, all of our carrier battle groups, all of our ballistic missile submarines, all of our just pull it all back, and we turn into an island of America. And when somebody decides to go to war, if we think it's necessary, we can do what we did in World War I and World War II, and rearm the world and ultimately win the war. Think that's going to work in today's world? That's laughable. So our whole military posture of being forward deployed, why do we do that? Because the basic element of our defense of the United States of America is deterrence. And in today's world, particularly, I mean, you can even say that offensive action against a computer network in China that is raising hell in America with its aggressive action, is it an act of war to offensively counter that computer system in China? Is that an act of war? I mean, these kinds of discussions can go on ad infinitum, and they have. We need to make some kind of decision in this country, and somebody ought to get it to the Supreme Court. I don't trust Trump to make the decision. I don't trust any single politician to make the decision, but we have a process to determine whether something is constitutional or not Why are we afraid to use it? Now, was it successful? I don't know. I know that the Iranian nuclear program has been set back for decades just based upon what's been damaged so far. But nobody, even the Iranians don't know the extent of damage underground from the bunker busters. And we're not going to know until somebody actually digs down into those chambers to see how badly they were destroyed. Now, they had 900 pounds of 60% enriched uranium. Where was that stuff at 1840 Eastern Daylight Time on June 21st? Israelis, the IAEA, and the United States thinks it was at Isfahan. Isfahan got obliterated on the surface by 30 Tomahawk cruise missiles from a Trident submarine. The other 14, the Nasan and Fedor, were bombed underground, and all we see right now is holes in the ground where the bombs went in. And we don't even see any collapse of the ground, the surface. So you would think if they had massive caverns underground and those caverns were destroyed by the bombs, you think you would see a hole in, a big shallow hole in the ground where the earth filled up those destroyed caverns. But we don't see any evidence of that. But my guess is that those three sites are not going to be used to do anything nuclear for years, if not decades. Now, are we going to have to play whack-a-mole and chase them around to see if they're trying to secretly build a bomb someplace else? Sure. What can we do to find the 900 pounds of enriched uranium? In case any of you are wondering, it takes about 5 or 6 kilograms of 90% enriched uranium to make one Hiroshima-sized bomb. So that's enough uranium that for seat of the pants calculation, you could build 50 or 60 bombs that were all Hiroshima size, which are pretty small, 20 kilotons, but you could build 50 or 60 bombs with that. Where is that stuff? We don't know. Do some Iranians know where it is? Probably. But we're going to have to, and we're not going to be able to fly airplanes over the site with radiation monitors to figure it out, because it's too hard to detect uranium-235 in such a manner, and you're certainly not going to do it from space either. The only way you're going to definitively know is by putting boots on the ground and literally go in with Geiger counters and see what you can find. What next? Iran can quit, which it doesn't look like they're going to do, meaning they agree to go to the negotiating table and negotiate to never again attempt to enrich uranium or build a bomb. They can continue to play whack-a-mole with Israel in hopes that Israel is going to get tired of playing whack-a-mole, and they might keep doing that, or they can go big and try to strike against American forces and others in the Middle East. If what happened in Qatar today is sustained, then maybe they went big. Now, we've got 2 carrier battle groups, and the Trident submarine that launched 30 cruise missiles against Isfahan has a loadout capability of 154 such missiles. So we've got about 120 of those kinds of missiles at least. You're never going to find a Trident submarine, so they'll never know where that one's coming from or when. So we've got a lot of arsenal, a lot of firepower there, and we have 2 carrier battle groups with a few 100,000 pounds worth of explosive ordnance that can be used as well, plus what the Israelis have. Can we use any of that stuff in order to stop Iran if they go big? Probably not. Everybody would argue, because there's the quagmire. And the other thing is my comment on Trump saying that on national TV, here we go with his bloviation, his exaggeration, his bullshit, and it does nobody any good to say that their nuclear weapons program was obliterated. That is just flat out wrong, stupid. The basic answer, we don't know, and very, very few people, if any, know for sure exactly how badly it was degraded. But degraded, you bet your ass it was degraded, and it's going to be a hell of an effort over years, if not decades, for Iran to get back where they were with arguably enough uranium to build 50 bombs, and just figuring out how to build them and launch them being the only restraint against them, which is a danger to the world and the United States that I hope to hell we never see again.
So one of the other potential responses, and I know you were focusing on the military, but I just want to add to your excellent analysis, Hanson, is what they're really good at, which is not militarily responding directly, but through terrorism.
That's exactly, and what I forgot to say that, and I think I said it in my email to you. No doubt, as long as this regime is still around, unless they bring back the Shah or something like that, there is no doubt that they're going to do everything they can, no matter whether they negotiate to end their nuclear, all three of the options that I provided, and any other options that anybody in here wants to come up with. They are going to continue to use terrorism as to the fullest extent that they can possibly do it, and how to combat that. And that's in playing whack-a-mole, you just slap the mole on the cheek, and he's ready to bite your hand off if he can get at it using terrorism. So we reignited that beehive. I mean, the beehive has always been there, but now we're going to be in a posture that people are going to start thanking God we have the Patriot Act again, or something like that. So that's a consequence that anybody should have seen coming, and they'll never give that up until we have a regime a la the Shah's regime, or maybe the Prime Minister was democratically elected that was overthrown by the Brits in the United States back in 1953.
The thing to take into consideration when it comes to a potential, and thank you for that, Hanson, terrorist attack type response from Iran, is that it doesn't necessarily happen immediate. I note that when the Iranian regime was offended by Salman Rushdie's book,